Well, hello there. I'm Phyllis Smith, the co-founder of Live Free Yoga, and I'm so glad that you are joining us today because I have this fabulous person I want to introduce you to. His name is Damian Nordmann. He is a mindset coach, a business coach, and mentor to superheroes like you. He works with dharmapreneurs, and we're going to go into that in a little bit to explain what that is. He also helps them align with the superhero success laws for greater impact and profitability. Damian coaches people to transform their money story and live the most authentic life and embodied life possible. So please welcome Damian Nordmann.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. So glad to see you, Damian. And we're actually new friends, and we will be collaborating on a workshop later in January, and we're going to go into that a little bit. But I've just so enjoyed the time we've had together already. So we're in so much alignment with each other, and I love your spirit and your energy. I do want to really just dive right in. I mentioned that you help dharmapreneurs. So explain what a dharmapreneur is.
Yeah, that was a combination of words that came to me about a month or two ago intuitively. It literally just popped into my mind one day. I think I was sitting in my office or walking around my condo, and I just was like, oh, wait, I help dharmapreneurs. Like, that's it. So it's a combination of the word dharma and entrepreneur. And so dharma is I see dharma, it's a Sanskrit word, it's an East Indian word, and it essentially means our duty, our sacred duty, our higher purpose, what we have to give. And the way that I sort of learned how to kind of go a little more specific with that at the School of Metaphysics was the unique set of qualities and understandings that we each have that we really bring to every situation. But many people have their dharmas shrouded, or not quite fully operational, so to speak. And so I help people to bring that forward, to be in their heart, to be in their whole mind and body. And particularly working with entrepreneurs, because I love working with entrepreneurs. I love working with people who are, building a business that is an expression of their dharma. And I think most people, that's the ideal, or at least somewhere in there, that's the ideal. But a lot of people, I think, get distracted by all kinds of stuff. So I help people to clear the clutter, the mental clutter, the emotional clutter, the vibrational clutter, and really get to the heart of the matter and make their business an expression of that deeper sense of self and dharma.
Why do you think it's important for people to have that dharma when it comes to their work, their purpose in life? Why is that important?
That's a great question. And I would say that everybody already really has a dharma, or at least most people do. But again, it hasn't been brought forward for a lot of people, and they're not very consciously aware of it. And that's why people are not as fulfilled, right? It's like, I know so many people, and some people just friends, associates, people I've met here and there throughout life, students I've taught, coaching clients, this wide range of people. And whenever a person is not really synced up with their dharma and their higher purpose, there tends to be like this longing for something, this desire for something that's not getting fulfilled. And anybody I know who is in touch with that dharma is just really on fire. And they don't even have to be like an extrovert on fire. Like, I can get really energetic and out there and kind of loud. I'm not saying everybody has to be loud, but just, like a burning passion in their heart, right? And they're deep within them that drives them to do what they do. And they find meaning and fulfillment and just like juicy goodness, that you can sink your teeth into. So I think that's so important, because I do believe we all came here to this world as a soul to experience this, to experience Dharma in its fullest. And it should be growthful and fun.
I think of it as when you're in your Dharma, you don't keep track of time. It's just you're in it. And I love how you describe that juiciness. It's just juicy and yummy, and it feels, it's almost like you can't even put a word on it. You just feel lighter and inspired and motivated. And especially when it comes to the work that you're doing. So it could apply to people who are entrepreneurs, but it could be applied to anybody even doing their work, whatever profession they might be in. I think it's so important when we listen to ourselves and something maybe doesn't feel right. Like you say, there's kind of a longing for something, and maybe you don't know. How do you get people to know how to discover their Dharma? How do you do, like, what might be a technique that you might use?
Oh man. So there's several things that I might do. One of them, guiding somebody through some inner processes of whether that be journaling on an ongoing basis, meditation, different styles of forms of meditation, almost any kind of introspective process, asking questions and listening. Sometimes just, I've found I'm good at this, and I have found that there are other coaches who are also very good at this, and other spiritual teachers too, of just asking really good questions to someone and then holding that space to listen. And then once that's complete, asking another good question or intuiting what needs to happen next or giving suggestions next. But any kind of introspective process that draws a person inward to their heart, their inner mind, their inner being is going to help connect that person with their Dharma. And then acting on whatever, I encourage people to act on whatever is coming up for them. Because sometimes, we have to find our Dharma through a certain amount of trial and error. I mean, and how we're going to express that Dharma. Sometimes it has to come, I call it the law of relativity, where one thing leads to another. And that's the way the whole universe works. I mean, we never, it's not like, it's kind of like this idea of, people talk about, the real, like, life is a journey, right? And the journey is what we need to appreciate. And oftentimes we're so anxious to get to an end space, like get to a goal or like figure out my purpose, right? And that can actually shut down sometimes your purpose and your Dharma, because it's an unfolding process. It's a step-by-step process. And if I think of myself, I'm 45 years old. I just turned 45. I have spent 27 years consciously exploring these things. And in some ways, I feel like I'm just now like really getting to a place where I'm really expressing my Dharma and my higher purpose in the ways that I've wanted to my whole life. Now, some people find greater expressions earlier, and not to say that I didn't have some of that going already at previous times. It's just the way that I've interpreted it and the way I feel about it. And then the last thing I'll say about this is that I have some friends who actually offer a Dharma reading, which is an intuitive reading that helps you to zero in on your Dharma for this lifetime. And it gives you lots of insights about what that is and how you've built it in previous lifetimes and all that good stuff. So there's a lot of ways that I help people understand this.
I think too, Damian, do you agree that it could be a scary thing? Like there could be people, and I imagine you've worked with people who think they're in their Dharma, like they went into a field that they thought was it, and then they realize it's not it. And to discover and really admit to yourself that maybe that's not the right path. Do you find that that could be a scary process?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it can be, and sometimes it's scary, and sometimes people don't. I think a lot of times people don't realize it's like they have to go down a path and then discover that they don't like that path, or maybe they did it one time and now they're like, I've been doing this way too long, right? And that sometimes can be scary, or sometimes it can just be uncomfortable, where things get to where it's like, because we get, as humans, we get so habitual and unconscious in our habits. And habits are a great thing when you build them consciously, and you build a habit as a practice. A habit can be so empowering. But when you fall into habit, and it's especially when it's like from childhood and it's really unconscious, and you've sort of just been on this autopilot mode, yeah, things can be scary, or they can be uncomfortable, or they can get that way until you're willing to say, yeah, I'm ready to wake up and try something new and different.
Yeah, that's it's a scary, but I think the only way to grow is that we have to step outside of that comfort zone, right? We have to take those risks in order for us to grow. And when we're not growing, in my opinion, it's like life is just kind of dead. We're just sort of walking zombies when we're not growing. So you also talk about that you help people align with their superhero success laws. So what are those laws that you're referring to? And what are those laws that you're referring to?
Yeah, the superhero success laws are more commonly known as universal laws. And the most famous of those is the law of attraction. The movie The Secret came out in 2006, right. and it really popularized it. And Abraham Hicks and a number of other teachers teach law of attraction. And it's all really good stuff. I've just found that there are 13. I teach 13 laws, and people may subdivide it into 20 or 30 laws, or only 7 or whatever. And I would say in some ways there is really only one law, which is the unified law or the complete law. But I teach these 13 laws because they help us to understand creation, and they help us to understand things like our dharma and our karma. They help us understand masculine and feminine. They help us to understand how we should be moving in the world to be happy and fulfilled. And I've found that when any of us are in harmony with these laws, then we experience much greater fulfillment, much greater ease, and a willingness, like you said, to get out of your comfort zone. And it's like kind of to just touch on what you were saying earlier and combine it with the question. I think the discomfort, the getting out of our comfort zone, can have a lot of different degrees or gradations to it. Because I know for me, like right now, I'm getting way out of my comfort zone, but I love it. It's like I reached a level of joy in this discomfort, and the discomfort then therefore isn't too bad right now. Whereas a few months ago, I was kind of running into a bit of a sticking point, like June, July, August, and I was like, what am I'm still just kind of bumping my head against a wall here, and wasn't quite sure what my next moves were or how to go about it. And so I wanted to be progressing and like, yeah, I'd like to be out of my comfort zone, but I'm kind of stuck. So now I'm uncomfortable being like, stuck in my comfort zone. So yeah, anyway, so those laws are valuable to people. And I take people through like learning them. I'm actually going to be running a program soon where I take a group of people through each law, one per month, because I think it's valuable to focus on one of these for a 30-day time period, so that you can really start to say, oh, I get what the law of believing and knowing is, or okay, I can use the law of intuition in my life now a little bit better. Otherwise, things can be so conceptual and heady for people that otherwise they may not ever really apply it, use it, live it, and become it.
What I love about what you're doing, your approach, is I think so many of us as entrepreneurs is we could sort of just like throw it all out there, big old net. And like, we're not sure which direction to go on each day. And, and maybe we make our little to-do list, but I feel like what you're doing and your approach is to make it very tangible, but kind of put it in little pockets. And so in terms of these success laws, so we have this pocket over here, let's work on that pocket, right? And then we have this pocket over here, let's work on that and fulfilling that. And so by the end of the 13, the 13 laws, we have really gone in and worked it and explored ourselves. And as opposed to big old net when everything can become so overwhelming, and so that's what I really like about that. I like lists. I like things that are kind of organized. Okay, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing now. That actually gives me a sense of security too, right? So how many of us entrepreneurs feel that sense of fear and worry and doubt because we don't think we're going to get it done. We're not doing enough. We don't feel like we're enough, type A, entrepreneurs, there's like a type A thing going on, right? I'm one of them. So I just love that approach. I just want to say that I really love that approach. So how did Damian, who was Damian before Damian followed these laws? Like, who were you and how did you get into and become who you are today?
Oh my gosh. Now you got to realize this is at least a 27-year process. Cause I started, I was going to say, I'll give you like the ultra cliff note version. I started at the School of Metaphysics when I was 18 and I was still in high school. I was a high school senior. And when I started in that course of study, I was so blown away that there were people actually teaching universal laws and meditation and dream interpretation and focusing and like all of these skills of mind and consciousness and life. I was pretty blown away. So, back in those days, I was very insecure. I was, very inexperienced, obviously. I guess some teenagers may be a lot more experienced than I was, but, generally speaking. And so the journey has been just this kind of wild journey for me of moving into adulthood and wisdom in different areas and moving back into infancy and adolescence in other areas. And I have had so many ups and downs in my life and just a lot of challenges, really, to be honest, with self-worth, with shame, with depression. These are things that have, and I really would not have admitted that, I go back, I think even if I go back 15 years ago, I would not have admitted it. And it really wasn't until about 5 years ago when I left the School of Metaphysics and I was in a very dark place that I had to go through a process of assimilation and sort of almost like redemption within myself and resurrection within myself for a few years and healing and come through and be like, you know what? Yeah, here are the things that I learned that most stick with me and that I feel like the most powerful. And that's a lot of because I learned the original universal laws from the School of Metaphysics, but then I feel like I've evolved them, changed them in the sense that like our understanding of them and made them more user-friendly for people because, if you, like you were saying, I'm the same way. Like if I have enough structure, the right systems and the right guidance, I can do anything. And when I don't have any structure, I am dead in the water. And when I have too much structure, I'm overwhelmed and I'm just like, give me some freedom. And so I think finding that sweet spot for any one of us is so important.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And I think that people like us, like entrepreneurs, we tend to be overachievers. So what is an overachiever? An overachiever is someone who thinks they haven't achieved. So there is always that thing in us that we're not good enough. We're not, we're not doing enough. We're not successful enough. And so we push and push, but then it could put us in a dark place, And so I think it's really important too, for people to know that it's so important for you to share with us that there were many years where you were in ups and downs and dark spaces, because to see you now is to see this bright light, is to see a person who is in, just in a good place. Like, you don't even have to say anything, and you can tell there's confidence, there's clarity. It's there. I mean, you could just see it even virtually. We can see it. And I've never met you actually in person. I've only met you virtually. Isn't that funny? And isn't it interesting that you were kind of still in this over the summer, just a few short months ago, was feeling a need to kind of break out even more. So I think that's another important thing, is that people know that we never stop growing. We never stop learning. We have to just be open, as you say, to your dharma, and listen to yourself. What's not working for you? What's happening? Even just an awareness. We teach that just in mindfulness in general, and through all of our Live Free Yoga programs. Is really the first step is self-awareness, and that's a scary place to go for some people, because there's some. Most of us have had some kind of dark past of some kind. Maybe it wasn't our whole past, but it could have been a little bit here and there. So I think that self-awareness piece is so key to really discovering and moving forward and growing. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So,
thank you. Can I just add one thing to what you said?
Yeah, please.
You mentioned self-awareness, which is so important. I mean, it is, I think, the starting place for anyone really is self-awareness. And then the one thing I would just say that has helped me, and like you were saying, like, growth is going to keep happening, right? It's a journey, it's a process, it's never ending. And what's helped me so much is self-acceptance. That has helped me, because I mean, my parents were fairly accepting of me on a general level, but because they were not very accepting of themselves or each other, I absorbed a lot of their self-denigration and self-destructiveness and fears and all this kind of stuff, and carried it with me. And it's been a process of greater and greater self-acceptance. And my most recent business coach, who's a spiritual life coach as well, helped me a lot. And then another lady who I started working with just recently, who's incredibly accepting and helped me to make a shift in that, has been helpful. And so the acceptance of wherever we are, even when we're in these dark places, to get to a place where it's like you can be depressed, you can be angry or hurt or sad or resentful or anything that we don't like, and have an element of self-acceptance to it, and be like, well, I'm going to be in this for just a while, and I know it'll pass. I'm going to accept it. I'm going to be okay with it for a while. Actually helps more than if we try to fight it and get out of it, which makes it so much harder.
It's true. I think it's also really important, something that I've become more aware of. My business partner, Tita Chambers, that's how you and I met, is you both went to the School of Metaphysics, and she is a very spiritual person. Like yourself. And I'm not in particular, I'm sort of more, the ground kind of tangible, kind of that kind of, what I can see, what I can feel, like that's kind of where I am. But what I've learned from Tita, and I learned from you yourself, which I think is so important, is the spiritual side. And this is for me, is what gives us that sort of big picture. So when I get down or frustrated or disappointed and my goodness, COVID has done, it's caused trauma and just energetically, but also in terms of business and, things that maybe might not be moving as fast as you'd like, that kind of thing. I have had to, Tita is the perfect person for me to be able to say, don't be attached or to the outcome. And that this is all part of a big picture, that we have this life, this journey, and that this is just a part of it. And whatever is happening is really lessons that we're learning and part of that big picture. That's kind of helped me sort of get through those difficult times. And these have been difficult times. I mean, I've definitely felt it on an emotional level, and then when I think, okay, this is just part of the big picture,
Yeah. I would say I think that's spot on. And one thing that I would talk about and teach that goes along with that is the law of relativity, because the law of relativity states that one thing leads to another, and we have to go on that journey if we want to get, to greater and greater plateaus and places that we want to be in. So one thing I could kind of complement what you just said is that I've experienced, and I teach people that whatever we're experiencing, well, another way I say it is that the universe only brings blessings, because I really believe that no matter how challenging or painful a situation is, there's gold, there's blessing, there's riches there that is for our ultimate good and success. And I think the people who can keep following that trail really find greater and greater fulfillment, happiness, and prosperity. Whereas the people who get stuck somewhere along the way, that's really the problem, is like getting stuck in a mindset or an emotion that's hellish.
Mm-hmm. And I want to that was going to be my next question, was about mindset. And how important do you think our mindset is in terms of our overall success, and whatever success means to you? I mean, it could be professional, it could be personal, it could be whatever it means to you. How important is our mindset?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I could say it's everything, because, and that kind of depends on, I don't want people to get too wrapped up in semantics or terminology, because you could replace the word mindset with heart space. You could replace it with soul growth. You could replace it with vibration. You could replace it with anything that really indicates where our attention is focused, what the content of our thoughts are, and what we're doing with ourselves at any given moment. And certainly the idea of the growth mindset has been popularized more and more in the last several years, which is so important. I mean, the difference between someone who's in a static mindset, a fixed mindset, where their world doesn't, their worldview and their view of themselves and others doesn't really change much. Again, it's they're going to get stuck on that journey, and that just brings pain and problems and misery. And I know a lot of people, including my beloved dad, who is near and dear to me, and we talk almost every day. And he's just perpetually stuck, and I got to keep helping him kind of
Yep.
just take a few more steps, Dad, you'll be okay. And then there's the growth mindset, which is really, I relate it to the law that I teach that's related to growth mindset, is the law of evolution. And it really states that we are growing internally every day, no matter what. Like, our soul, our spirit grows every day. It expands, it transforms. We have to be willing to just ride it like a wave, like a surfer, like, or like a boat in a river, right? The river does most of the work. We just kind of have to steer the boat a little bit, right? Just kind of be there to make some adjustments. So that law of evolution is carrying us forward and upward and onward. And as long as we're not resisting it and just going along with that flow and making choices that align with that, things can be really pretty easy and fun.
Yeah, I think fun is really important. You know, when it gets to where you stop having fun, you just got to stop. You just got to walk away and go do something you love, go do something that feels good for you, and then come back, because it should be fun. I mean, we really don't know what is going to happen in a minute from now, tomorrow. We don't know, you know, and it's so important for us to, that's just really important. So one other question I have for you, we've talked about this before in your Facebook Live. You do a Facebook Live every Thursday, right?
I do them at various times, but lately we've been doing them, like our group has been doing them on Thursdays. Yeah.
Okay, so just be on the lookout for that. We're going to get it to you. Can reach, if you go to Facebook and then just search for Damian, that's Damian, D-A-M-I-A-N, and Nordmann with 2 N's on the end, N-O-R-D-M-A-N-N. You can find there, and he does all kinds of Facebook Lives, and he's just got a lot going on. That's because he's continuing to grow. But one thing that I find with many people, business owners, who go into doing something that they love, but then they don't know how to make money, because money is a dirty word. If you're a creative person in particular, or whatever it is, you go and you think, oh, I'm talented, I can do this, I've got this great skill, I'm going to go into business, but then you don't know how to ask for money. And you start feeling guilty, like, oh, I love what I'm doing so much, how could I ask for money? What is that about in terms of our mindset around money?
That's a fantastic question. That's actually probably one of the best questions people should be asking themselves, or something like it, because you don't hear very many people talk about money. And I think that's the problem, is that money has gotten a really bad reputation, and that you know, culturally, and in a lot of individual families, and I think there's even a misprint in the Bible where, you know, Jesus kind of, I don't think he actually said it, I think it's a misinterpretation or mistranslation, that like money is the root of all evil.
Right.
Actually, he says the love of money, so actually it's not completely inaccurate, but I think really more like the lusting after it. So really greed
Yes.
is really, I feel like that's the best word to put you know, on it. Greed is more of the root of evil, but money itself is, I feel like it is love, and it is life force, and it is our breath, and our blood flow, and our energy, and our value, and you know, it's spiritual. So I think that if you have a hang up with money, like I did and have continued to transform, it has come from outside of us. You know, we absorbed it, we learned it, we heard about it, we saw all the, like one of my coaches once pointed out, the movie Titanic. If you remember that movie back in the late 90s or something, or early 2000s.
Sure.
It portrayed that the wealthy people were these evil, greedy people, right, and that the really poor people were the happy, free people. And that you see that theme in the media quite a bit, because most people are not rich and super wealthy, and so the movies are for them to identify, you know. So it's like playing to this thought form and this habit that you've got to be poor to be happy, and if you're wealthy, you're going to become, you know, this kind of cynical, greedy, hoarding person, which really I have not found to be true. There's a few of those greedy people in the world, but most of the wealthy people I've met are generous, kind, compassionate, very creative, intelligent, helpful people. And so I think that there's this shift that's been happening for some time now, and I think that shift is that money is spiritual. Spirituality and money can go together. They should go together. And if any master teacher from ancient history was here right now, they'd be like, yes, you guys need to be making lots of money, because there's so many opportunities now in the world to expand your life and to give to others. And money is an easy way to do it. We don't have to barter or, you know, give some chickens for a car, you know, or something. which would be very,
Yeah.
very clunky exchange.
I think it's, to me, when it comes to money, it's not identifying yourself with money per se. Like, if I have money, then I'm worth something. I think that's that idea. And I think, like, from my dad's day, that's what you were. If you made money, then you had value. I think when you talk about money is love, tell me what you mean by that. Go a little deeper with that. Tell me more.
Well, I think that they come from the same place. Like, I have this view on life that everything emanates from a source, a common source. And, we could call that God, or we could call that universal mind, or we could call that super consciousness, or we could call that Atman, the universe. And so love and money are coming from the same place, and they allow us to experience similar things. And it's very much like, I think, like what you're saying, where it's one thing to get entrapped or stuck in this concept of equating our self-value to how much money we make. And that is definitely an older paradigm, and it's an older hologram that some people still adopt. What I see, though, is that, like, my exploration of money and my teaching to other people of it, as well as all of my metaphysical practices and meditations and spirit. I mean, I've had like Kundalini experiences and spontaneous experiences and rebirthing experiences, all these things that have like led me inward, show that it's the same place that this amazing medium of exchange we call money comes from. And again, it seems like the people who are in love with what they're doing, and I see this particularly like I, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I did like some thorough research on the actress Jennifer Lawrence, and partly because she's from Louisville, Kentucky, and so we do a little bit of hero worship with our famous Kentuckians like Muhammad Ali and Jennifer Lawrence and a few others, and I had kind of been out of the media circuit for quite a while. I mean, not real engaged. And I started watching videos of her throughout her career on different talk shows and all this other thing. And it's just so amazing to see like her love of what she's doing and how she manifested this career in her teens. She was a teenager when she went to New York City with her brother, and specifically so she could become an actress. And just, it's like she was driven towards it internally. And so her love made her a multimillionaire by the time she was in her early 20s. And so I really believe, and I can look at almost anybody. Like one of my previous business coaches, James Malinchek, did something kind of similar in his 20s, where he pursued a speaking career, and he spoke to universities. And at that time, very few people were speaking and getting paid at universities. And he set the bar and the standard for it and broke all barriers and opened it all wide open. Why? Because he loved speaking. He loved speaking to college students at that time. And he loved giving a message of empowerment to help them find their perfect career and job and all that sort of thing. So that's why and he became a millionaire first just by speaking to college students. And now he's done all kinds of other stuff. But literally just in that one simple area, it was all from his love of what he was doing.
And then the money, the currency is the tangible, it's the tangible thing that illustrates and shows us that what we did for love, like the chorus line, what I did for love, what you do for love, this is what it looks like. So we could feel the love, but the money shows us, here it is. So that's great. I love that. That's so important for people to know that, and to not be ashamed. There's so much shame around money, so much shame around it. Okay, so I alluded to this earlier. Very excited. We are going to be doing a workshop webinar in January, on January 7th, and it is going to be a panel of brilliant minds like yourself, including you. And my business partner, Tita Chambers, and Christina Sigurdsson. So it's really cool because it's called Lighten Your Path. to Prosperity in 2021, ready to take on 2021 and just shoo away 2020. And then also, it's really also about discovering your power to create sustainable change from the inside out. So Tita will be offering various mindfulness practices that will mirror a program we have called Lighter Being. It's an online video series. Christina, so she'll be clearing and helping you to clear your mind. Christina is a professional organizer, and so she is going to be helping us, giving us some ideas of 3 C's practice that she does to help us get our lives organized and help us start with that. And then you're going to come in and help us take all that clarity from the inside out and then activate it into next steps. So that's really exciting for us to all be doing this together. It's a first. Hopefully we'll have more of that. So I just wanted to tell everybody about that. And I want to ask you, so how does your approach to success and activating our superpowers, how does your approach fall into alignment with what the other panelists are going to be offering, that inner-outer, those inner-outer practices? How do you come into alignment with that?
Well, okay, so I'm not sure if I totally understand your question, because I mean, everything that I do is an inside-out maneuver. I mean, that's kind of been what I've been learning and building up to my whole life. As far as like what I'll be offering in the event that we're going to be creating, Lighten Your Path to Prosperity in 2021, I think what I'm going to be focusing a lot is on the law of wealth and worth, which is helping people understand their value and some of the things we've been talking about today around money and value. And then also the law of relativity, which we talked about today, which is that absolute necessity to take action once you've gotten the clarity that like Tita and Christina are going to be talking about and helping people with, and getting some order and organization in their lives, and getting connected with themselves. You know, after that, we've got to take action, and actually action becomes very fun at that point. We mentioned fun earlier. And I think that's a great way to know that we are aligned within ourselves, is that the action is fun. Like, I mean, this year when I've been aligned, the actions have been pretty blissful, to be honest. And when I've been a little more stuck, the actions have been, this is hard. This is kind of grindy. Like you said earlier, I got to go do something else for a while and take a break and realign and let things settle. So definitely I'm going to be touching on at least a couple of universal laws, superhero success laws that people can use, and going to give them, hopefully, I think, give them some of the steps to take to then move forward in 2021 and really make it. I believe 2021 is going to be the best year in humanity's history. I believe it's going to be a breakthrough year. I believe it's going to be a transformational year, because this amazing portal that's opening up on December 21st of this year with Saturn and Jupiter, which, you know, the planets Saturn and Jupiter are going to conjunct in Aquarius, which they haven't done for hundreds of years. And that's just going to speed things up, and it's going to make things so much more accessible this year than ever before.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure most people are looking forward to a new year. There's a lot of changes, a lot of transformations that need to happen. And I just love what we're going to be doing together. I'm basically I'll be hosting it. I'll be kind of, sitting back and listening and watching and helping with the transition between all three of you. But I think that this is going to be an important step for people to begin that transformation. So if you want to register, you can go to livefreeyoga.com and click on events, and you'll see it right there. Damian, if people want to reach out to you directly, how do they do that?
Really good ways are they can go to damiannordman.com and they can message me there. And then also on Facebook at just Damian Nordmann, Damian Nordmann, Nordmann. There's only one of me, and they can send me a direct message, and I'm happy to follow up and connect with coaching or, superhero success laws or any of the other cool things that are going on.
Okay, that would be great. Okay, so that's how you reach Damian. Again, this is a free webinar. I don't know if I said that. This is a free webinar. Okay, and this could help really kickstart your year.
Go to livefreeyoga.com, click on events. It's January 7th. And I'll give you Central Time because we're Central, you're in Louisville, but the East Central Time is 6:30 p.m. to 8. And you'll have to figure out the rest depending on where you are in the world. And so we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much, Damian, for joining me. This has been really inspirational and motivational, and I can't wait to do our workshop together and plan more of our partnership in the future. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. This has been a blast. Thanks, Phyllis.